Pinkerton's Ghosts is a horror anthology podcast by Superversive Radio, with no affiliation with any detective agency, person, real or imagined, or the dark forces of Outre Terre. It is not intended for children.
The name had kept me away for a while. Grinders of Madness didn't sound like a coffee shop. It sounded like a bar, and not the sort of bar you went to if you wanted to meet a nice lady, if you catch my drift. I passed it on the way to Starbucks I normally went to for my daily dose of caffeine. I didn't know what stopped me on this particular day. Maybe it was the sun in my eyes making me glance in the direction of the place, or maybe I was just unlucky. Whatever the reason, I noticed a person walking out of the doors of the blacked-out establishment with a coffee cup in his hand. My nose twitched at the familiar scent of roasted beans. I took a better look at the sign then. Grinders of Madness, but, in the small letters underneath, the words Love-Crafted Coffee. Now I'm a simple man. I want my coffee black. No sugar, no milk. I don't care if it's Dunkin' Donuts or Starbucks or something I made at home with a K-cup. I'm not picky, I just want my caffeine to keep me sane for another day. This shop was a little closer than my usual place. If they made their coffee strong enough, it'd be more convenient for me to make the switch. With that in mind, I walked inside. Small place. The dim lighting and the curtains covering the windows made it feel even smaller. Everything was made of polished lacquered wood so shiny that I could see my reflection in the surfaces. The walls, the tables, the floor. On the wall in large letters was the quote, "I like coffee exceedingly," with a picture of H.P. Lovecraft holding up a mug. I really don't think the man was capable of smiling like that. It was one of those places. Some hobbyist nerd that thought just because they wanted to relate everything back to their stupid hobbies, that meant everyone was totally into the idea of a Cthulhu head staring down at you while you tried to eat a scone. The entire place didn't feel entirely right to me. Maybe it was the angles, maybe it was the colors that I could half see in the reflections. Look, I deal with enough eldritch horrors on the job. I don't need to do it for breakfast. I was about to turn and leave when a voice chirped. "Welcome to the Grinders of Madness." I could see the other employees walking around the kitchen area in the back. Everyone's uniforms were, for lack of any better words, goth. Black robe-looking things, black combat boots, hoods that covered their hair, black eye makeup. But this woman, she wasn't having any of it. She rolled her sleeves up, kept her hood down, and her blonde ponytail swung like a pendulum behind her when she turned her head toward me. When I turned to face her, I had been looking at the quote on the wall, her smile twitched. "Sir, I'm sorry, but our store policy is not to give away food even if it's being thrown out." I didn't blame her. I got that a little too often. Mostly because there was shit a lot more important to deal with than brushing my hair and making sure I had a clean shave. Looking down at myself, I unbuttoned a few mismatched buttons and redid them. There was a coffee stain still splashed across the front of my shirt that I'd forgotten to change. Periodically, even the caffeine wasn't enough to keep me awake, and the exhaustion had hit me that night. I woke up with lukewarm coffee all over my shirt and keyboard imprints on my forehead. The woman's eyes widened. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." "You're fine." I sighed. If I was inside, I figured, might as well. I approached the counter. She cleared her throat. My name is Lily. What can I get for you today then, sir?" "Espresso, double shot, no cream or sugar," I answered, taking a cash clip out of my coat pocket. "Are you sure? Our goat milk's the most popular thing on the menu. Kind of our specialty." She smiled, then laughed. "Sorry, I'm just supposed to sell everyone that. Part of the job." I had to admit, I never heard of a coffee shop milking their own animals. I also hadn't really heard of goats milking coffee. "Fine, give me both." I relented. "The espresso for my sanity, and then a medium made however you think is the best way." Lily gave a thumbs up. "Sure. Name? Ryan." "Just take a seat wherever and I'll call you when it's done, Ryan." I took a seat. I tapped a finger across the table while I waited. "Hey, are you new?" I looked at the table next to me. A man with a comb-over, wearing a suit and drinking from the largest mug I'd ever seen, was smiling at me. Yeah. First time here. I could tell. You have so many regulars. I've been coming here since the day it opened. He raised his mug. It's the best coffee I've ever had. He held out his hand. I'm Isaac. You got yours with that goat's milk, didn't you? I can't drink anything else anymore. Ryan. I didn't shake his hand. Isaac was weird, and if there was one thing I learned not to take for granted, it was someone being weird. It's probably just a lonely man willing to make small talk with homeless-looking strangers in a desperate need for social interaction. He might have been a lizard man wearing this poor bastard's skin like a suit, trying to simulate how he thought humans acted from studying old 90s sitcoms. There's no such thing as being paranoid when you're a paranormal Pinkerton. He took my rejection with a surprising amount of grace, wiping a sweaty hand on the front of his jacket. Yeah, there was something very strange about this place. Ryan? Lily came back. She put the mug of coffee in front of me and the shot of espresso. The mug was a deep shade of eggplant purple. I was more surprised at this point that it wasn't black. Thanks, I grunted. I raised my shot before drowning the espresso in one gulp. So far, so good. It was strong stuff, kind that made your teeth hurt. With that out of the way, I grabbed the mug of coffee that was supposed to be oh so good. I could feel Isaac's beady little eyes watching me in anticipation. I ignored it best I could and took a tentative sip. It was a medium roast. The goat's milk gave it a tangy flavor, almost like I was drinking Greek yogurt in my coffee. I swished it around in my mouth a few times before I swallowed. So, what do you think? I took another sip. Good. It wasn't just good, it was great. Never thought I'd like Greek yogurt tasting milk in my coffee, but it hit the spot. No, more than that. Something about it was addicting. Before I realized what I was doing, I had finished the entire cup. Hey, Lily, Isaac waved his hand. Another cup for my friend. Already? She started making it, glancing at me as she poured the milk in. That good, huh? This is the best coffee I've ever had, I admitted. What's the secret? I don't know, she answered, except that it's really, really fresh. That's probably it. We keep our own goats out back and milk them ourselves. Or the others do. I'm just the barista. I haven't worked here long enough to be trusted with the goats, I guess. When she gave me this one, I took my flask and carefully poured it in. I had places to be and I was going to take it to go. You put your coffee in a flask, Lily asked. It was my grandfather's, I answered. Oh, so that's how he drank coffee too? No, whiskey, I answered. I stood up. Then he drank himself to death. Don't blame him. Lily took a step backwards. Oh, okay. Do you sell your coffee blends here? I want to take some home. I bought a bag. Bought a few bags. As I stepped out of the shop, I uncapped my flask and took a long drink. Yeah, there was definitely something different about this coffee. No way I was going home without stopping back on the way. I knew for certain that it wasn't the beans that made the coffee at the Grinders of Madness so good, because I tried making it at home and all it tasted like was warm, bitter water. You would think since I always took my coffee black, I wouldn't mind the taste of warm, bitter water, but I could barely swallow it. Just to be safe, I went out to the closest grocery store and shelled out too much money for a pint of goat milk. But that just made it taste like slightly grassy, warm, bitter water. Unless I was willing to go to the place itself, I was out of luck. Fortunately, I didn't mind making the trip there, and I kept coming back. First time I revisited, I just took one cup to go, and I stopped at Starbucks on my way back since it was closer. But the coffee there tasted awful too. It was strange. Starbucks was Starbucks. I trusted that place. The next day I did the same thing, but it was even worse. I couldn't even get it down that time. I had to go to the bathroom to spit it out in the sink. Now it didn't just taste bitter, it tasted like someone had used the coffee in their dishwasher then poured it into the machine. Guess when someone has the best coffee they ever had, everything else just tasted that much worse by comparison. At least, that was what I thought, but I decided to just go there from now on. It was starting to get a little less creepy to me now, even, dare I say it, a little charming. The people who worked there looked so ridiculous in their gothic makeup and black hoodies. that it was hard to remember that I had been suspicious of the place at first. Talking to Lily every time I stopped in helped. Apparently, the college where she was taking graduate courses at a local Call of Cthulhu RPG club. This is just their way to earn money for club fees and also have a place to game on weekends. She had explained to me one day. She handed me my third cup. They're all really strange. The manager is the club president. I'm pretty sure he's in one of my grad classes, but, it's hard to tell because he keeps his head face down on the desk the whole time. Really weird. I had to drop some friends because I got them jobs here, and they decided to go full-on nerd and join their games. Which, I don't mind being into that sort of thing, but not that into it. She shivered at this. Lily talked a lot. I guess she decided I was alright. I didn't care if she talked, as long as she got me my coffee. It was getting bad. I started dreaming about the stuff. I'd wake up in a cold sweat, feeling myself shiver from caffeine withdrawals. Or maybe something else. I didn't know. I didn't care. It got to the point where I would stop by 7-Eleven first to buy 4 big gulp soda cups, fill them to the brim to ration out, and then be done with them by the time I got home anyway. There was one morning where the shakes and the cold sweat were so bad that I practically ran out the door with barely enough pause to get some clothes on. I entered the building and calmed down, just a little. Just being there was enough for my body to say, "Okay, Ryan, we can talk." I saw Isaac in his usual seat, looking a little more glum than usual. "Isaac, something wrong?" I asked, leaning my elbow on the counter while I waited for Lily. "Oh, it's nothing, Rye," Isaac answered. He sighed. "Just problems with my wife." A wife. I didn't even know Isaac had a wife. Then again, I don't think I knew anything about other than that he was possibly a lizard man and that he really loved coffee. "Trouble in paradise?" "She left me." "You're kidding me," I said, although given his comb-over and the tweed jacket he decided to wear that day. Yeah, he was a nice guy, but I could imagine a scenario like that. "She just got a promotion at her job," he explained, "and she said if I didn't move with her, she'd be going by herself, and, well," he shrugged. I settled myself at a stool by the counter. "That's a shame," I answered. "Why didn't you go?" "Because it was in San Francisco. That's a 46 hours drive from Boston, Rye," Isaac said. "I can't go there. How would I get my coffee? I swear, she did it to me on purpose. She always complained I spent all my time here, so she took that job just so she could force my hand. Well, I'm not giving her my coffee just to make her happy. I got my laptop, I work here all day, pay her mortgage, and she thinks she can just..." I started to tune him out. Isaac was a friend in the sense that I saw him every day, but certainly not one whose marital woes I wanted to listen to. Besides, the conversation was starting to make me uneasy. The man left his wife over a good cup of coffee. No, it was the best cup of coffee. Coffee you couldn't live without. That wasn't worth it. No, it was. Right? It was. That woman was a bitch trying to take away the coffee. Who leaves their wife over coffee? But how can anyone live without the coffee? "Ryan, here's your usual." She put the cup down. "That's $2.79. "Sure thing, Lily," I said. I reached into the pocket of my pants. Nothing. I frowned as I rummaged through the pockets, even the secret ones. Still nothing. "I left my wallet at home," I said. "You don't have tap pay?" "I don't use that," I clarified. "I have a wallet in my coat pocket." Damn it, I must have run out the door so fast I forgot it. I reached out for the cup. Lily pulled it back. "Sorry, Ryan," she said, "but it's, a business." "What? Come on, give me the coffee. You already made it." "I'd get fired if I just gave it away without paying. It's also illegal to keep tabs." "Believe me, you're not the first guy that tried that." "Look, you're within walking distance, aren't you? Just go back." Couldn't take it anymore. Cold sweats were back. I could feel my hands trembling. I grabbed Lily by the front of her shirt and pulled her forward, spilling the coffee in the process. "God damn it, you bitch! I need my coffee!" There was something in her eyes that snapped me out of it. In those sea foam eyes, I'd never seen anyone more frightened in my life, and I'm a Paranormal Pinkerton. Slowly, I forced my fists unclenched from her shirt. "Lily, what is this guy doing?" One of the workers had seemed almost mysteriously materialized next to her. He spoke in a monotone voice, and Lily looked at him. It's fine," I said. "I'm sorry, I got a little... It's fine." Lily looked sideways at me. Yeah, we're all good here, Jimmy. He gave me a dirty look, but disappeared into the back again. I ran a hand down my face. I really am sorry, he said. It's okay. Honestly. Are you okay? She grabbed some paper towels and started cleaning up the mess. While she did, I considered it. I was very much not fine, but the outburst had actually helped me to clear my head. Helped me remember that I'd felt something off about this place. Something very, very wrong. As I observed the other patrons, the regulars, for the first time since I'd been hooked on this stuff. They didn't look like people drinking coffee. They, all slumped over and sipping their drinks like their life depended on it, looked more like alcoholics. I approached Isaac again. Hey, Isaac. Right, guy. Hey, heard the commotion. That just sounds like the worst. Want me to treat you? It's no trouble. My mouth started to water. My hands were twitching again. Grinding my teeth, I shook my head. No, I don't want you to. You sure it's really no? Isaac, what do you want out of life? What are your hopes? Your dreams? What do you want for yourself? Is this really all you're going to do? Just sit in the shop from opening to closing down cups of coffee the rest of your life? He stared at me. He blinked, like he had short-circuited for a moment. But then that smile he always had was back. Well, it's the best coffee I've ever had. Who wouldn't want to come here every day? I remembered what he had said. He'd been here drinking this stuff since day one. Day one. Every day from morning until night. I grabbed his shoulders. Isaac, listen to me. This dreck isn't good for you. It's going to kill you if you keep this up. Isaac was, for all his weirdness, for how overly familiar he was, a nice guy. And how weird was he, actually, if he had been high on goat's milk coffee for this long? He laughed uncomfortably. There was something bubbly to it. Not joyous, but something bubbled in his throat. Now, Rye guy, come on, you're starting to sound like my wife. Your wife is right, I answered. Go home and talk to her before it's too late. For God's sake, man, drink some water. That did it. Boy, that did it. I could hear the offended gasps of coffee addicts around me. Even the ever-jovial Isaac looked pissed. I had what looked like the beginnings of an angry mob on my hands, so I let go of Isaac and turned tail. Or at least, I left the place and stayed outside, taking some deep breaths. Hey, Ryan! I turned. Lily, listen, I told you You think there's something seriously weird that place too, huh? I grabbed a cigarette from my pocket. Maybe the nicotine could calm down my goat milk withdrawal. Apparently, Lily had arrhythmias, basically heart palpitations. Whatever the reason for it, the important thing was that she couldn't drink caffeine, and therefore hadn't had any of that godforsaken coffee. It was why she was the only one that still seemed normal. I took her to a different place to discuss it. A diner. Skipped the coffee in favor of Coke for the first time in my life. Too damn sweet. At first, I just let it go because I really, really needed the money, she explained. But it was getting really hard to ignore, especially considering my field was her field. Psychology. I'm doing my master's thesis on, well, cults. I paused mid-sip, raising an eyebrow. It was hard to imagine this Barbie-looking girl with her sparkly French tips and bleach blonde hair getting her jollies, reading about Jonestown Scientology. So what? You want to get some field research? Man, I don't even know where I'd begin fitting this into the research I've been doing, at least in time for my master's. Maybe if I ever go for a doctoral dissertation, she mused. But anyway, you can see why I need the money so bad, right? Psychologist degrees are both expensive and difficult to leverage. Better than underwater basket weaving or something, I suppose. She giggled. Yeah, I guess so. But like I said, you're right. There's something very wrong about the place. What if I made sure to leave the gate unlocked for you, tonight? Started to pour the remains of my Coke into my flask. It would never be rid of the taste. Why tonight? Staff meeting. I was so sick I missed my first one, but they insisted on having me there this time. Apparently I'm Employee of the Month or something, which, totally unsurprising. Take on everyone's hours. I nodded. I ordered a patty melt. Tasted like sand because, of course, even regular food was crap now because of that coffee. I dipped a fry in ketchup. And you're going to leave the gate open? Well, you've seen the yard, right? We have a small barn at the back. You know, for the goats. I'll just make sure the gate is unlocked so you can listen in on whatever's going on. Maybe it'll help. Okay, I trust me with this. Who else will believe me? I thought it over. What better plan did I have? Good work, I agreed. What time should I go? It was 2 a.m. when the meeting was supposed to start. Already that was suspicious as hell. Who had an employee meeting at 2 a.m. in the middle of the week? It was weird enough on a weekend. Sure enough, as promised, the gate was opened. Although I'm not sure what the point of that was. The fence was short enough that I could have probably climbed over it with very little trouble. We weren't talking barbed wire here. Still, I guess it was better than risking myself tripping. There were lights coming from that barn in the back, but they weren't normal lights. They were glowing, flickering, like fire rather than electricity. My suspicions were confirmed when I managed to peek through the crack in the slightly ajar barn door and saw that there were an assortment of lanterns scattered around for light, and goats being strung up by the ceiling. Lily wasn't moving. I didn't blame her. These were people armed with massive knives, clearly out of their minds, and she was one woman. It's not fight or flight, it's fight, or freeze. Her mind had stuck her firmly on freeze. I could feel something above the group and turned to look up at it. I recognized the entity for the few moments I was able to gaze directly on it. That's the problem with some of these eldritch beasts. The longer you look at them, the more you're risking your sanity. I looked just until I could start to feel a fracture at the back of my mind before averting my gaze. They were shouting its name. Shub Niggurath, the All-Mother, the black goat of the woods with 1,000 young. She was a mass of wreathing limbs. The best way I can describe it is if someone took the entrails and body parts of goats, sutured them all together into a single mass, then ditched the entire mass into a tar, with nipples and birthing canals. This was what she looked like. I could hear the sounds of pinching, shrieking, probably gathering the milk. The goats had apparently just been sacrifices. Lily, we get the first taste. It's fresh, filled with life. I told you, I have heart palpitations, I can't. The milk doesn't have caffeine. It will heal you. Try some. They started chanting, drink the milk, drink the milk, drink the milk. With a back nudge against the door, I kicked it open. Hold up! I had, of course, brought my 10mm pistol. Keeping my eyes firmly away from the goat mother, I trained it on the others. There's 10 of you and 12 shots in this thing, I said. Enough for me to miss twice, and with how small this barn is, I like my odds from this distance. Now back up. I could see now that there was a pentagram on the ground. I had to give them credit, but it was the wrong symbol for Shub Niggurath. What a waste of goat's blood. One looked like he was getting up the gumption to charge me. I shot him in the gut. They all held up their hands, then Lily glued herself to my side. Is it over? She whispered. The buckets of blood were glowing. Just don't look up, I said back to her. I risked a brief glance back up at Shub Niggurath. She was covered all over in udders that were leaking some sort of disgusting-looking greenish-blue milk that was more in the thickness of glue. Hell, was that what I was drinking? Then I heard a squish, a slither. A mass of goat limbs and a head with one eye in the middle of its forehead had hit the ground and started to crawl like a spider. Shoot it! Lily yelped. I did. Screamed and thrashed about on the ground. Its mother did too, like I'd shot the main body. It all started to thrash. You're hurting her, one of the cultists said. That's the idea, I answered. Now how do we stop this thing? You can't. We've been slowly growing our strength. This was the night when she was supposed to finally break out of her plane fully in Abadars. The book told us all. Oh my god, Ciara, you drank their cult Kool-Aid that hard? Lily snapped. This is why I stopped hanging out with you. I searched desperately. The goat things were falling off her body in greater and greater numbers, disoriented but quickly gaining their bearings. In just a few seconds they'd probably start merging, or worse, swarming. I didn't have enough shots to stop them. Something had to interrupt this spell, whatever it was, and it had to be fast. My eyes migrated to one of the lanterns. Bang! I shot one of them. Lily yelped. The cultist jumped back. The lantern's glass broke and it fell on the ground, flame igniting the dry hay in the barn. What are you doing? Lily asked. What does it look like? I answered. It didn't take Lily more than a second to realize what I was doing, and her credit, she got on board immediately. She ran, grabbing another lantern, smashing it against the wall so it set everything ablaze. The cultists started screaming. "If you don't want to burn alive, I suggest you run," I said. "And stick to your board games from now on, you assholes." I took Lily's hand. "Come on," I said. I ran out of there. "Should we call 911? She said. "This is going to reach the main building." "Good." Lily blinked. She realized she couldn't really argue. Lily was right. The fire did, in fact, reach the main building. It burned everything to the ground. Property, barn, Shub Niggurath, coffee shop. Or at least Shub Niggurath seemed to have decided the pain of burning alive wasn't worth terrorizing our plane of existence. Just yet. After a few more days, the goat milk-induced coffee euphoria had subsided. I almost wanted to weep the first time I took a sip of black coffee and didn't want to spit it out. Started going back to Starbucks then. Grinders of Madness was boarded up. What little remained of it, anyway. "Ryan?" I froze in the doorway. "Lily?" Her. At the counter. I had helped make sure she got home safe, but I hadn't seen her since, nor did I think I would. She waved enthusiastically. "Oh my God, how are you?" she asked. She leaned forward, resting her torso on the counter. "I guess I shouldn't be surprised you'd show up in this coffee shop eventually. How'd it go? If all the cafes in the world had to walk into mine." Ha ha. I regained my composure. "Got a new job, huh?" "Yeah, I took a week off for, my own psyche, but getting another wasn't that hard. I heard the club disbanded after the place burned down." "Thank God," I answered. Put my hands in my pockets as I sauntered up to the counter. "Hear from Isaac?" "Actually, yeah. Came in with his wife yesterday. Think they reconciled?" I actually smiled a little. "Good to hear." Lily tilted her head. "Hey, can I surprise you? Make up for that coffee I gave you the first time? No goat milk?" "None, I promise." I was busy, so I took it to go. It wasn't until I was walking outside that I saw what she'd written on that cup. Her phone number. Her phone number. Wasn't that surprising? Protecting someone from a supernatural horror could be pretty endearing. Shook my head at the cup fondly. "Nice girl," I said to myself. Too nice to get mixed up in this again. I'd have to find a new place just to be safe. I took a sip. It was a shame, though, I have to admit. She made a pretty good cup of coffee.
Pinkerton's Ghosts is a podcast distributed by Superversive Radio, licensed under an attribution non-commercial, share-alike international license. This episode was written by Mariel Marchetta and performed by Frank Marchetta. Ben Wheeler edits, directs, produces, and herds cats. Kid Dickerson performs our audio editing. Visit us on Facebook, read articles on superversivesf.com, or listen to us on unauthorized Acast, iTunes, or Spotify. Contact us through Twitter at @PinkertonsGhost, email us at pinkertonsghosts@gmail.com, or send us noble messenger possums with messages strapped to their backs. Don't worry, they know how to find us. Thank you for listening, and good luck.